Author Michael Wolff has claimed in a lawsuit that First Lady Melania Trump threatened to sue him for over $1 billion in damages if he didn't retract Jeffrey Epstein-related statements he made about her. Wolff said in the lawsuit that Melania Trump's threat to sue came over statements he made to the Daily Beast and in 3 videos published on social media, although he added some statements were incomplete phrases and were taken out of context. The lawsuit came on Tuesday, the deadline set by Melania Trump's lawyer for Wolff to retract statements, issue an apology, and pay damages to his client. Through his lawsuit, Wolff announced his intention to use the legal action to put the president and his wife under oath to answer questions about Epstein. Wolff conducted interviews with Epstein before his death. The lawsuit noted that Wolff never said Melania Trump was involved in any of Epstein's crimes. Among the statements the lawsuit said were true were those saying Melania Trump was very involved in Epstein's social circle, where she met her future husband, and that it was fair to question how Melania Trump fits into the Epstein story. Wolff has published a dozen books, including 4 bestsellers about the president.
This story is not really about celebrity gossip. And it's not just another lawsuit involving Donald Trump's orbit. Because if you look closely, this situation raises a much bigger question about power, pressure, and what happens when people connected to Jeffrey Epstein are suddenly threatened with billion-dollar legal action for asking uncomfortable questions. Author Michael Wolff has now filed a lawsuit claiming Melania Trump threatened to sue him for more than $1 billion unless he retracted comments connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that number alone should make people stop and think. $1 billion legal threat is not normal, especially when the public issue here is not a direct criminal accusation. According to the lawsuit itself, Wolff says he never accused Melania Trump of participating in Epstein's crimes. That part is important. Instead, the dispute centers around comments about Melania being connected to Epstein's social circle in the 1990s and questions surrounding how she fits into the broader Epstein story. And this is where the situation becomes more serious than it first appears. Because notice what Wolff is doing in response. He is not backing down quietly. He is escalating. According to the filing, Wolff says he intends to use this legal fight to place both Donald and Melania Trump under oath and ask questions related to Epstein directly. That changes everything. Because once depositions enter the conversation, this stops being just a media argument. Now, it potentially becomes a discovery process. And discovery means documents, sworn testimony, timelines, relationships, and questions that lawyers normally try very hard to avoid becoming public. That is the real pressure point here. And this connects to something people have been noticing for years around the Epstein story. A lot of powerful people publicly say they want transparency, but when questions move closer to their own personal history, suddenly the focus shifts from openness to legal threats. That pattern keeps repeating over and over. Now, to be clear, there is no evidence presented here that Melania Trump committed crimes connected to Epstein. Even Wolff's own lawsuit reportedly makes that clear. But the larger issue is whether journalists, authors, or investigators should face massive financial threats simply for discussing relationships, timelines, or social connections that are already matters of public interest. Because Epstein's network has remained one of the biggest unresolved public accountability stories in modern American politics. For years, people have wanted answers about who knew him, who socialized with him, who benefited from his connections, and why so many powerful names keep appearing around the case. That's why stories like this immediately get public attention. Not because people assume guilt automatically, but because the Epstein story became symbolic of something larger, power protecting itself. And honestly, the timing here also matters. Donald Trump has spent years attacking media figures, authors, reporters, and publishers he believes damaged his image politically. Michael Wolff specifically has been one of Trump's most aggressive biographers, publishing multiple best-selling books filled with insider claims and embarrassing stories about Trump's administration and personal life. So this lawsuit is not happening in isolation. There is already a long history of hostility between these figures, And when you combine that history with Epstein-related questions, billion-dollar threats, and the possibility of sworn testimony, the situation suddenly becomes politically explosive. Because now the public conversation shifts from, was the statement offensive? To, what might come out if this actually goes forward? That is where the tension really starts building. Especially because Epstein's name still carries enormous public distrust. People remember how many elite figures were connected socially to him before his arrest. People remember how many questions never fully got answered. And people notice when powerful individuals aggressively try to shut conversations down instead of simply denying claims calmly and moving on. That doesn't automatically prove wrongdoing, but it absolutely increases public suspicion. And in politics, perception can become just as damaging as facts. At the end of the day, this lawsuit may become about much more than Michael Wolff or Melania Trump, because once legal threats turn into sworn testimony fights, the public starts paying attention very differently. And with Jeffrey Epstein, Americans still feel like they never got the full story in the first place. So now the question becomes, is this really just a defamation dispute? Or could this legal battle open doors that powerful people would rather keep closed? Let me know what you think in the comments. And subscribe for more investigative breakdowns like this.